I kissed Dante Ashford last night, and now he wants to sue me. That was the sentence that came out of my mouth when my best friend Margot answered the phone at 7 in the morning on an ordinary Tuesday. Except nothing would be ordinary after that night. "You did what?" Margot screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Penelope Victoria Almeida Santos, you kissed the Dante Ashford, the coldest, most litigious tech billionaire in the Western Hemisphere." Technically, he kissed me back. I tried to defend myself, looking at the summons letter on my nightstand. For 5 glorious seconds before he pushed me away like I had leprosy. "Penne, start from the beginning. Now." I sighed, throwing myself back on the bed. How could I explain that in less than 24 hours my life had turned into an episode of a poorly scripted romantic comedy? It all started with a lemon pie. Yes, you read that right. A Sicilian lemon pie with Swiss meringue that I had spent 5 hours preparing for the charity dinner hosted by the magazine where I work as a food editor. City Flavors wasn't exactly vogue, but it paid my bills and allowed me to do what I loved: cook and write about food. The event was fancy, the kind where you need to sell a kidney to buy a ticket. My invitation was courtesy, of course, since I was covering the event for an article about gastronomy and philanthropy. Basically, rich people eating expensive things while pretending to care about social causes. Cynical? Maybe. Realistic? Definitely. I was in the ballroom of the Imperium Hotel, trying to balance my camera, notepad, and a glass of champagne I hadn't asked for, but someone had shoved in my hand when I saw him for the first time. Dante Ashford was impossible to miss. Not only because he was 6'3" tall with shoulders that looked carved from marble under that impeccable tuxedo, but because there was a 3-foot void around him. People literally moved away, as if he emitted a "don't touch me" force field. Black hair perfectly slicked back, a square jaw that could cut glass, and those eyes. God, those stormy gray eyes that seemed to calculate the market value of everything they looked at, including me, when our gazes crossed for a nanosecond. I felt a shiver. Not the good kind. "That's Dante Ashford," whispered Berenice, the magazine's director, appearing at my side. "Worth $3.2 billion. Founded Ashford Tech at 22. Now he's 34 and has never, ever been seen smiling in public." "Sounds like a ray of sunshine," I commented sarcastically. "He's one of the biggest donors tonight. Be nice if he talks to you." "He talks?" I thought he communicated through lawsuits and corporate memos. Berenice gave me a warning look before walking away. I shouldn't have drunk that champagne on an empty stomach. The night continued without incident until dessert time. My lemon pie was a hit. I heard several compliments as I circulated through the ballroom, taking notes for the article. Everything was going perfectly fine, until it wasn't. I was photographing the decoration of the main table when I felt someone stop beside me, very close. I turned and came face to face with a male chest covered by a tuxedo that probably cost more than my car. I looked up, and further up. Dante Ashford stared at me with those stormy eyes, holding a plate with a slice of my pie. "Did you make this?" His voice was deep, controlled, with a touch of an accent I couldn't identify. "The pie?" "Yes. It's perfect." I blinked. "Thanks." The acidity of the lemon perfectly balances the sweetness of the meringue. The texture is excellent. The ratio between the crust and filling is mathematically satisfying. Who the hell describes food in mathematical terms? "I'm glad it passed your gastronomic calculations," I replied, unable to hide the sarcasm. For the first time, something changed in his face. Not a smile, but maybe the shadow of one. Or a facial spasm. Hard to tell. "You're the food editor at City Flavors." It wasn't a question. "Impressive. Do you also investigate the people who make your desserts?" "I read everything published about gastronomy. Your article about the gentrification of street markets was insightful." Okay, I wasn't expecting that. My article had caused controversy last month, criticizing how large corporations were swallowing small family businesses in the name of urban revitalization. "You read it?" I couldn't hide my surprise. "I read a lot." He took another forkful of the pie, and for a moment, just a moment, his face softened. This is excellent. That's when it happened. A waiter rushed past us, carrying a tray full of champagne flutes. I don't know if he tripped or if someone bumped into him, but the result was the same. He lost his balance and the entire tray flew in our direction. Pure instinct. Without thinking, I threw myself against Dante Ashford, pushing him to the side. We both fell to the floor in a tangle of limbs, champagne raining down around us. He had held me during the fall, protecting my head with his hand, and now we were on the marble floor of the city's most elegant ballroom, with 300 people staring at us. I was on top of him, my face inches from his. My navy blue dress, from the thrift store but nobody needed to know, was soaked in champagne, as was his tuxedo. And then, in that moment suspended in time, where logic had no place, where 300 pairs of eyes watched us, where my professional career was probably going down the drain along with the spilled champagne, I kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't rational. It was pure madness induced by adrenaline and champagne and those gray eyes looking at me with an intensity that made my brain shut down completely. For 5 eternal and perfect seconds, Dante Ashford kissed me back. His lips were firm, surprisingly warm, and tasted like Sicilian lemon and something dark and dangerous that made my heart race. Then reality returned. He pushed me away, not violently, but firmly, and stood up in one fluid motion, leaving me sitting on the wet floor like an idiot. His face had returned to that ice mask, but his eyes sparkled with something I couldn't decipher. "That was highly inappropriate," he said, his voice low but sharp enough to cut me. "I saved you from a champagne bath," I replied, still on the floor, my dignity in tatters. "You assaulted me in public." "Assaulted? I kissed you. I didn't steal your wallet." "Same thing." He adjusted his tuxedo, looking imperturbably elegant despite being soaked. "You invaded my personal space without consent. You kissed back." Involuntary reflex. He turned to leave but stopped, looking at me over his shoulder. Expect correspondence from my lawyer. And then he just left. He walked out of the ballroom, leaving a trail of shocked whispers and a soaked, traumatized food editor on the floor. Berenice appeared, helping me up with a look that oscillated between horror and disbelief. "Please tell me I didn't see you kiss Dante Ashford." "Okay, you didn't see me kiss Dante Ashford." "Penelope." "And then this arrived this morning," I told Margot, waving the summons letter. Apparently, kissing a billionaire is considered public embarrassment and invasion of privacy. Margot was silent, completely silent, which was worrying because Margot was never silent. "Margot, you kissed the richest and most litigious man in the city." "Technically." "Panay, he sued a newspaper for using an unauthorized photo of him. He sued an ex-girlfriend for selling relationship details. He sued his own cousin for using the family name in a business. When you put it that way, you're screwed. Thanks for the support. But also," Margot made a dramatic pause, "how was the kiss?" And there I was, 28 years old, with a degree in gastronomy, a decent job, a reasonable rented apartment, and now a summons letter from the man I kissed in a moment of temporary insanity. A man whose kiss I could still feel on my lips. A man who would probably destroy me financially. "It was mathematically satisfying," I replied, and Margot burst into laughter. I didn't know at that moment, but that kiss, that ridiculous, inappropriate, and completely unplanned kiss, was going to change absolutely everything. But first, I needed to survive the lawsuit. The law office of Sterling and Associates occupied the entire 32nd floor of the Pinnacle Tower, with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city like a constant reminder that these people could buy and sell your entire existence before lunch. I felt severely underdressed in my best blazer, the one I saved for job interviews and funerals. Apparently, I could add, "getting sued by a billionaire," to that list. "Miss Santos?" A receptionist, with a smile so polished it could cut diamonds, gestured toward a massive mahogany door. "Mr. Ashford is waiting." "Mr. Ashford?" I froze. I thought I was meeting with his lawyer. "You are." Her smile didn't waver. Mr. Ashford prefers to handle certain matters personally. Of course he does. Because my humiliation wasn't complete enough. I walked into the conference room and there he was, sitting at the head of a table that could comfortably seat 20 people. Dante Ashford, looking devastatingly handsome in a charcoal gray suit, his attention fixed on a tablet in front of him. He didn't look up. I stood there for a full 30 seconds, yes, I counted, before clearing my throat. Miss Santos. He finally acknowledged my existence, those storm-gray eyes lifting to meet mine. Sit. I'm not a dog. Then don't make me repeat myself. I sat. Mostly because my knees were shaking and I didn't trust them to keep me upright. Let's address the incident, he began, swiping something on his tablet. You assaulted me at a public event attended by 300 witnesses, including 2 city council members, a federal judge, and the CEO of my largest competitor. I saved you from wearing champagne. You kissed me without consent. You kissed me back. For the first time, a muscle twitched in his jaw. A momentary lapse in judgment. Wow, you really know how to make a girl feel special. This isn't a joke, Miss Santos. He leaned forward, and I caught a hint of his cologne, something expensive and woody that made my treacherous brain remember exactly how close we'd been on that floor. Do you understand the implications of what you did? Enlighten me. I have a reputation to maintain. My business dealings require absolute discretion and control. What you did was spontaneous and ridiculous, I know. I threw my hands up. But you're seriously going to sue me over a kiss? A 5-second kiss that you participated in? The duration is irrelevant. Oh my God, did you time it? His eyes narrowed dangerously. I'm offering you a choice. That shut me up. A choice? Option 1. I proceed with the lawsuit. You'll lose. You'll pay damages that will likely bankrupt you, and your reputation in journalism will be destroyed. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was reading a grocery list. Option 2. You work for me. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? For the next 3 months, you'll be my personal chef. Your what? I have business dinners, meetings, events that require catering. You'll prepare meals according to my specifications. In exchange, I drop the lawsuit. This had to be a joke. You want me to cook for you? That's your solution? Your lemon pie was exceptional. Your articles demonstrate you understand food beyond basic preparation. I require someone with your skill set. He tilted his head slightly. Unless you prefer option 1. This is insane. This is business. He slid a contract across the table. 3 months. You'll be compensated fairly. I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. You'll maintain your position at the magazine and work for me in your free time. I grabbed the contract, scanning the pages. The compensation made my eyes water. He was offering me more for 3 months than I made in a year at the magazine. Why? I finally asked. You could hire any chef in the city. Michelin star chefs would kill for this opportunity. Why me? Something flickered in those gray eyes. Because you're the only person in 5 years who's treated me like a regular human being instead of a bank account. The admission hung in the air between us, vulnerable and unexpected. You called me an assailant 15 minutes ago. You are an assailant. But there was the ghost of something in his voice. Amusement. An assailant who makes mathematically perfect lemon pie. Despite everything, the lawsuit, the insanity of this situation, the fact that this man was clearly unhinged, I felt my lips twitch. If I agree to this, there are rules. His eyebrow arched. You're not in a position to negotiate. Rule 1, no more threatening to sue me. Rule 2, you eat what I make without complaint. Rule 3, you actually treat me like a human being, not a kitchen appliance. I don't negotiate my contracts. Then I'll see you in court. I stood up, my heart hammering. This was either the bravest or stupidest thing I'd ever done. I made it 3 steps toward the door. Wait. I turned. Dante Ashford was standing now, and there was something different in his expression. Something almost Impressed? Your rules. I'll agree to rules 2 and 3. He moved around the table with predatory grace. But rule 1 is non-negotiable. You step out of line, the lawsuit comes back. Define out of line. No more unexpected kissing. That was one time in extraordinary circumstances. No gossiping to press about our arrangement. I'm not going to sell a story about you. No poisoning my food when I inevitably irritate you. Despite myself, I laughed. Actually laughed. You think you're going to irritate me? He stepped closer, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. Close enough that I could see tiny flecks of silver in all that gray. Miss Santos, I irritate everyone. It's one of my few consistent talents. Well, Mr. Ashford, I met his gaze steadily, refusing to back down even though my pulse was doing gymnastics. Lucky for you, I'm very hard to irritate, and I make a mean coq au vin when I'm angry. The corner of his mouth twitched. It wasn't a smile, Dante Ashford didn't smile, but it was close. Do we have a deal? I should have walked away. Should have taken my chances with the lawsuit. Should have done anything except agree to spend 3 months working for the most infuriating man I'd ever met. But that compensation, and the fact that, lawsuit aside, cooking was what I loved more than anything, and maybe, just maybe, because I wanted to figure out what was behind those storm gray eyes. We have a deal. His hand extended. I took it. The handshake was firm, professional, and lasted exactly 3 seconds. But in those 3 seconds, I felt that same electric current from the kiss, that same dangerous pull. From the look in Dante's eyes, he felt it too. We were both so screwed. An unexpected kiss, Chapter 3. Kitchen wars. Dante Ashford's penthouse was obscene. There was no other word for it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city, furniture that probably cost more than my college education, and a kitchen that made my professional chef heart weep with joy and envy. Is that a La Cornue range? I breathed, running my hand over the gleaming French stove. You know your appliances. Dante stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching me explore his kitchen like a kid in a candy store. This is a $40,000 stove. 42, actually. And you use it for what? Reheating takeout? His jaw tightened. I don't cook. You own a $42,000 stove and you don't cook. I shook my head. That's a crime against gastronomy. That's why you're here. He pulled out his phone, checking something. Tonight I'm hosting a dinner meeting, 6 people. I need something impressive but not pretentious. They're Japanese investors, so you want me to make sushi? I cut him off, raising an eyebrow. I was going to say consider their palate preferences. Right, because all Japanese people love sushi. I opened his massive refrigerator, finding it depressingly empty except for bottled water and what looked like 5-day-old Chinese takeout. Your fridge is sadder than my dating life. I eat out. Clearly. I pulled out my phone. I need to go shopping. Give me your credit card. Excuse me? You want impressive food? I need ingredients. Real ingredients, not whatever this is. I held up a suspicious container. Is this supposed to be orange chicken or a science experiment? For a moment, I thought he might actually smile. Instead, he pulled a black credit card from his wallet and handed it to me. There's a limit. What is it? $5,000 for today. I nearly dropped the card. $5,000? For one dinner? Is that not enough? I could feed an army for a month with that. Then feeding 6 people should be simple. He glanced at his watch. Definitely a Patek Philippe. You have 4 hours, don't disappoint me. Don't disappoint you? I stepped closer, poking him in his very firm chest. Listen, Mr. Ashford, I've worked in restaurants where the head chef threw knives when he was angry. I've catered for celebrities who changed their mind 6 times. I once made a wedding cake during a blackout using only a camping stove. I don't do disappointment. He looked down at my finger on his chest, then back at my face. You're touching me again. Oh my God, it's a finger, not a marriage proposal. 4 hours, Miss Santos. It's Penelope or Panay. We're going to be working together for 3 months. You can use my actual name. 4 hours. Penelope. The way he said my name, slow, deliberate, with that slight accent curling around the syllables, did absolutely nothing to my pulse. Nothing at all. Liar, my heart whispered. I returned 3 hours later with enough ingredients to create magic. Margot had insisted on coming with me, partly to help carry bags, mostly to see Dante's penthouse. "This is insane," she whispered, eyes wide as we entered. "This is absolutely insane. You're cooking in a billionaire's kitchen, his kitchen, Panay." "Focus. I need you to prep the vegetables while I start the sauce." "Is he here?" "He's in his office, probably doing billionaire things, buying companies, firing people, the usual." But I was hyper-aware of his presence in the apartment. Every sound, every footstep made my traitorous body go on high alert. I decided on pan-seared duck breast with cherry gastrique, truffle risotto, and roasted autumn vegetables. For dessert, a matcha panna cotta with black sesame tuile. Elegant, flavorful, and showing off without being pretentious. I was in my element, moving through his kitchen with the confidence of a general commanding troops. This was my kingdom, my domain. Here, I was in control. "You're different when you cook." I spun around. Dante stood at the kitchen entrance, his suit jacket removed, sleeves rolled up to reveal surprisingly muscular forearms. His tie was loosened, and there was something almost relaxed about him. Almost. Different how? Confident. Fierce. He moved closer, watching me reduce the cherry gastrique. "You haven't second-guessed yourself once." "Why would I? I know what I'm doing here." "Most people are nervous around me. Most people haven't kissed you and lived to tell the tale." The words were out before I could stop them. Margot made a choking sound from the corner where she was slicing vegetables. Dante's eyes darkened. "You're quite bold for someone I could still sue." "You won't." I stirred the risotto, not breaking eye contact. "You need me. Who else would tolerate your mathematical food critiques?" "Mathematical food critiques?" "The ratio between crust and filling is mathematically satisfying." I mimicked his deep voice. "Who talks like that?" "Someone who appreciates precision." "Food isn't just precision. It's passion, creativity, soul." I added butter to the risotto, watching it melt. "It's about making someone feel something." He was quiet for a moment, studying me with that intense gaze that made me feel like a specimen under a microscope. "What do you want people to feel when they eat your food?" The question surprised me with its sincerity. Happy. Comforted. Like someone cared enough to create something beautiful just for them. "That's why your lemon pie was perfect." It wasn't perfect. The meringue was slightly over-torched on one side. I didn't notice. "Because you were too busy calculating ratios." This time he definitely almost smiled. "Perhaps." "Mr. Ashford," Margot's voice broke the moment. "The vegetables are done. Where do you want them?" He blinked, as if remembering there was another person in the room. "By the stove is fine." For the next hour, we worked in surprising harmony. Dante didn't help cook. He'd admitted he'd probably burn water, but he stayed in the kitchen, occasionally asking questions about techniques or ingredients. He was genuinely curious, and I found myself explaining things I'd never thought twice about. "Why do you add cold butter at the end?" "It makes the sauce silky, adds richness." "And the truffle oil?" "A little goes a long way. Too much and it tastes like perfume." "You sound like a teacher." "I thought about it once, culinary school instructor." I plated the duck with careful precision. "But I love the creative freedom of working independently more." "Yet you work for a magazine." "For now." I met his eyes. "Someday I want my own restaurant. Small, intimate, where every dish tells a story. That requires significant capital." "I know, I'm saving." I laughed, very slowly. "At this rate, I'll be 70 before I can afford it." Something shifted in his expression, but before I could analyze it, the doorbell rang. "Your guests." I gestured to the plated meals. "Go. Dazzle them with your personality." I don't dazzle. No kidding. He straightened his tie, transforming back into the cold billionaire I'd first met. But just before leaving the kitchen, he turned back. Thank you, Penelope. And then he was gone, leaving me with a racing heart and the uncomfortable realization that Dante Ashford was far more dangerous than I'd thought. Because the man who threatened lawsuits and spoke in mathematical terms, I could handle him. But the man who thanked me with genuine warmth in his voice, that man could break my heart. The investors loved the dinner. They're signing the contract next week. I looked up from my laptop where I was editing an article about sustainable farming. It had been 3 days since the dinner, and Dante had just walked into the magazine office like he owned the place, which, given his wealth, he probably could. Every head in the open workspace turned. Whispers erupted. "What are you doing here?" I hissed. "Thanking my chef." He placed a bouquet of flowers on my desk. Not roses, those would be too predictable. Instead, wildflowers in brilliant purples and blues. And discussing tomorrow's lunch meeting. Berenice materialized beside us, her smile so fake it could be plastic. "Mr. Ashford, what a delightful surprise." "I'm here to see Penelope." The entire office went silent. You could hear a pin drop. "Penelope?" Berenice's eye twitched. "Our Penelope? Is there another one?" I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. "Mr. Ashford, perhaps we could discuss this. I need lunch for 12 tomorrow. One of my potential clients is vegetarian, another kosher, and the CFO has a severe shellfish allergy. Can you accommodate?" Every eye was on us. I could feel my co-worker's curiosity burning holes in my skull. "Of course I can accommodate, but you couldn't call?" I was in the neighborhood. He checked his watch. "I'll send a car for you tomorrow at 9. The meeting is at noon, which gives you time to prep." "A car? I can take the subway." "The ingredients will be in the car, it's more efficient." He turned to leave, then paused. "Nice flowers, by the way. Penelope's always preferred wildflowers to roses. Too conventional, she says." And he left, leaving me with a bouquet, a slack-jawed boss, and approximately 20 co-workers who looked ready to explode with questions. "Penelope Vittoria Almeida Santos." Berenice's voice could cut steel. "My office. Now." "You're working for Dante Ashford?" "It's complicated." "Complicated?" Berenice paced her small office like a caged tiger. "The man is a billionaire. How is that complicated?" I couldn't exactly tell her about the lawsuit or the kiss. "He hired me as a private chef for some events. It's a side job." "A side job." She stopped pacing. "Panay, do you understand what this could mean? For you? For the magazine? It's just cooking. It's never just anything with people like him." But her eyes were gleaming now. "Does he know anyone else? Could you introduce me? We could do a feature." "No." The word came out sharper than intended. "This is private, off the record." "But, Berenice, I can't. I signed an NDA." I hadn't actually, but she didn't need to know that. She sighed, disappointed, but accepting. "Fine. But if he ever wants publicity, you come to me first." "Deal." As I left her office, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "How did you know I prefer wildflowers?" My heart did a stupid little flip. Me. "You said you read everything about gastronomy. I wrote a piece last spring about edible flowers, mentioned my grandmother's wildflower garden." Unknown number. "I remember. You said roses were the boring choice of people who don't really know the person they're giving them to." "My Turira, you have a photographic memory or something?" Unknown number. "Or something. Save my number." D. I stared at my phone, a smile tugging at my lips. Dante Ashford had a surprisingly good memory for someone who claimed to only care about business. The next day, a sleek black car picked me up at exactly 9. Inside were bags of premium ingredients and a handwritten note in sharp, precise handwriting. "Menu is your choice. Surprise me." Duh. Challenge accepted. I decided on a Mediterranean feast. roasted eggplant with tahini, herb-crusted lamb chops, pomegranate-glazed salmon for the kosher guest, and an elaborate vegetable Wellington for the vegetarian. For dessert, honey lavender panna cotta. Dante's office kitchen was smaller than his penthouse, but still better than most restaurant setups. I was elbow-deep in dough when the door opened. "You're early." I didn't look up, focused on getting the Wellington pastry perfect. "It's my office. And it's my kitchen for the next 3 hours. There are rules. Rule 1, don't distract the chef." "I'll try to contain myself." He moved to the counter, loosening his tie. "What are you making?" "Vegetable Wellington. It's like beef Wellington, but without the beef. I'm familiar with the concept." "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Food Encyclopedia. I read your article on modern vegetarian cuisine last month. You made a compelling argument for vegetables as the main event rather than the consolation prize." I finally looked at him. He'd removed his jacket, rolled up his sleeves again, which should be illegal because it did things to my concentration, and was watching me with genuine interest. "You really do read everything I write." "I told you. I read everything about gastronomy." "Why?" The question seemed to catch him off guard. "Why do you cook?" "That's not an answer. It's the same answer." He moved closer, studying my hands as I worked the dough. "You cook because it makes sense to you. Food has rules, structure, but also allows creativity within those boundaries. I read about it for the same reason." "Control freak meets passionate chaos?" I smiled. "We're quite the pair." "We're not a pair. We're employer and employee. That's a pair. That's semantics. That's you avoiding the question." I dusted flour off my hands. "Why food specifically? You could read about stocks, tech trends, whatever billionaires read about." He was quiet for a long moment. "My mother was a chef before she died." The admission hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I stopped working, giving him my full attention. "Dante, she had a small restaurant, nothing fancy, but people loved it. She poured her soul into every dish." His voice was carefully neutral, but his eyes betrayed him. "After she died, my father sold it. Said it was impractical, not profitable enough. I was 12. My heart cracked. "I'm so sorry." "It was 22 years ago." He straightened, walls going back up. "Ancient history. But you still read about food, still remember her through it." "I should let you work." "The meeting." "Dante." I touched his arm, stopping him. "Thank you for telling me." He looked at my hand on his arm, then at my face. For a moment the cold billionaire facade cracked completely, and I saw the 12-year-old boy who'd lost his mother and her restaurant in one devastating blow. "Your lamb chops are going to burn." "Damn it." I rushed to the oven, but they were perfect. "You lied." "I needed you to stop looking at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you care." "Maybe I do care." The words escaped before I could stop them. Dante stared at me, something dangerous and vulnerable flickering across his face. "That would be extremely inconvenient." "For who?" "Both of us." The timer went off, shattering the moment, but as Dante left to prepare for his meeting, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything had just shifted between us. We were in dangerous territory now, and neither of us knew how to turn back. "I need you to teach me to cook." I choked on my coffee. "I'm sorry, what?" Dante stood in his penthouse kitchen at 7 in the morning. I'd started arriving earlier to prep for his breakfast meetings, looking unusually uncertain, if uncertain was even in his vocabulary. "You heard me?" Dante Ashford, billionaire who once told me boiling water was suspiciously complicated, wants to learn to cook? My nephew is visiting next week. He's 8. He asked if I could make my mother's famous carbonara. His jaw tightened. I told him I would. Oh no. My cold, angry heart was melting, and I needed it to stop immediately. "That's actually really sweet. It's practical. The child expects carbonara. I need to deliver carbonara." "Right, because everything is a business transaction with you." "Exactly. but his ears were slightly pink. Fine. Tonight. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. It's my apartment. Then I won't be late. You better not be either. He was late. I was arranging ingredients on the counter when he rushed in at 7:47, tie askew, hair slightly mussed, looking more human than I'd ever seen him. I apologize. Conference call ran over. Did you just apologize? Someone marked the calendar. Don't push your luck. But there was no heat in his words. I gestured to the ingredients. Carbonara is simple. Eggs, pecorino cheese, guanciale, pasta, black pepper. That's it. That's it. The trick is technique, not ingredients. Come here. He moved beside me, and I became acutely aware of how small the kitchen suddenly felt, how good he smelled, that woody cologne mixed with something uniquely him. Focus, Penelope. First, we cook the guanciale until it's crispy. You try. I handed him the pan. I'll burn it. Not if you pay attention. I moved behind him, reaching around to guide his hand on the spatula. Big mistake, huge mistake. His back was warm and solid against my front, and I felt his sharp intake of breath. Low heat. Patient. Patience isn't my strong suit. No kidding. But my voice came out breathier than intended. We stood like that, my hand over his, watching the guanciale sizzle. The moment stretched, loaded with tension that had nothing to do with cooking. Penelope. His voice was low, dangerous. Yeah? If you don't step back, I'm going to do something we'll both regret. Who says I'd regret it? He turned in my arms. When had my arms ended up around him? And suddenly we were face to face, inches apart, his gray eyes stormy with something that made my knees weak. This is a terrible idea, he whispered. The worst, I agreed. Neither of us moved away. You work for me. Technically, I'm an independent contractor. That's still... He stopped, his eyes dropping to my lips. Penelope. Dante. The smoke alarm went off. We jumped apart like teenagers caught by parents. The guanciale was definitely burning. Damn it! I rushed to turn off the heat, waving a towel at the smoke detector until it stopped shrieking. Dante ran his hands through his hair, looking thoroughly rattled. I told you I'd burn it. You didn't burn it, we got distracted. By each other. The admission hung between us. Yeah, I cleared my throat. Maybe I should teach from over here. Less proximity. Agreed. But neither of us sounded convinced. We started over with new guanciale, this time maintaining a careful 2-foot distance. It was torture. Now the eggs. I cracked them into a bowl. You need to temper them so they don't scramble. The heat from the pasta and guanciale cooks them gently. Show me. I demonstrated, very aware of his eyes following my every movement. Your hands are steady, he observed. Yours shake when you're nervous. I don't get nervous. You were nervous 5 minutes ago. That wasn't nervousness. He stepped closer again, apparently unable to help himself. That was restraint. My heart hammered. Dante, I haven't stopped thinking about that kiss, Penelope. The confession came out rough. 3 weeks, I've tried, God knows I've tried. But every time you're near me, every time you smile, every time you put your hand on my arm, I know. I set down the bowl before I dropped it. I know because I can't stop thinking about it either. This is impossible. Completely. You drive me insane. You're chaotic and impulsive, and you argue with everything I say. You're controlling and calculating and emotionally constipated. Emotionally constipated? If the expensive shoe fits. He laughed. Actually laughed. It transformed his entire face, made him look years younger, devastatingly handsome. I haven't laughed this much in years, he admitted. You make me laugh. Is that a crime? In my world? Yes. He sobered. Penelope, I don't know how to do this. Relationships, emotions, any of it. I've spent years building walls and you just bulldoze right through them? Precisely. I moved closer, closing that careful distance we'd maintained. What if we just see what happens? No pressure, No definitions, just us. That's terrifyingly vague. Welcome to emotions. They're not as mathematical as you'd like. His hand came up, cupping my face with surprising gentleness. If I kiss you right now properly this time, everything changes. Maybe everything needs to change. The contract? Forget the damn contract. My reputation? Forget your reputation. I could hurt you. Dante. I covered his hand with mine. You already are, by staying away. Something broke in his eyes, some final wall crumbling. He leaned in slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. This kiss was nothing like the first. That one was surprise and impulse and champagne-soaked chaos. This was deliberate, intense, full of 3 weeks of tension and longing. His lips moved against mine like he was learning me, memorizing me, and I melted into him completely. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. We're going to be terrible at this, he whispered. Probably. I'm going to drive you crazy. You already do. The carbonara is getting cold. I laughed against his lips. Only you would think about pasta at a moment like this. My mother always said never waste good food. Then I guess we better finish the lesson. We did eventually finish making the carbonara, and it was perfect, creamy and rich and exactly right, but not nearly as perfect as the feeling of Dante's hand finding mine across the counter, lacing our fingers together like he'd been doing it forever. Like maybe, just maybe, we could figure this out together. Uncle Dante, is this your girlfriend? I froze, wooden spoon halfway to my mouth, testing the marinara sauce. The 8-year-old tornado named Oliver stood in the kitchen doorway, all messy brown curls and curious hazel eyes that looked exactly like Dante's. Dante, to his credit, only hesitated for half a second. Oliver, this is Penelope. She's teaching me to cook. But you're kissing her. We weren't. Dante's ears went red. How long have you been standing there? Long enough. Oliver grinned, revealing a missing front tooth. Mom says you never have girlfriends because you're married to your work. Are you getting divorced from your work? I bit my lip to keep from laughing. Dante looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Your mother talks too much, Dante muttered. She says that's why she's a lawyer. Oliver hopped onto a bar stool. So are you Uncle Dante's girlfriend? That's... I looked at Dante, who looked back at me with an expression that clearly said help. Complicated. Adults always say that when the answer is yes. Oliver swung his legs. It's okay, I like her. She smells like cookies. I made snickerdoodles earlier, I explained. Can I have one? May I have one? Dante corrected automatically. That's what I said. I slid the cookie jar across the counter. Help yourself. Oliver grabbed 3 cookies, stuffing one entirely in his mouth. Uncle Dante never has cookies or food. One time I looked in his fridge and it was just water and sad lettuce. The lettuce wasn't sad, Dante protested weakly. It was so sad. Penelope, are you going to teach him to make real food? Because last Christmas he served us catered food from containers and Grandma cried. She did not cry. She said, Dante, your mother would cry if she saw this. Which is the same thing. Dante's jaw tightened, and I saw the flash of pain in his eyes. I moved closer, bumping my hip against his in silent support. Well, I said brightly, we're making carbonara today. Your uncle's been practicing. Really? Oliver's eyes went wide. Nonna's carbonara? The very same. Uncle Dante, you haven't made Nonna's food in forever, not since... Oliver stopped, his smile fading. Not since she died. The kitchen went quiet. Dante's hand found mine under the counter, squeezing tight. Well, Dante said, his voice rough. That's going to change. Starting today. Oliver's grin returned, brighter than before. Can I help? Absolutely, I said. Every chef needs a good assistant. Watching Dante teach his nephew to make carbonara was possibly the most adorable thing I'd ever witnessed. He was patient, shockingly so, guiding Oliver's small hands, explaining each step with care. The egg mixture is delicate, Dante said. Too much heat and it scrambles. Like when Dad tries to cook breakfast? Exactly like that. Dad's terrible at cooking. Mom says he could burn cereal. Your father has many talents. Cooking isn't one of them. I watched from the side, supposedly chopping vegetables for a salad but really just observing this softer version of Dante. The one who ruffled his nephew's hair, who laughed when Oliver accidentally flung pasta water across the kitchen, who caught the boy when he slipped on said pasta water and spun him around until he giggled. This was the real Dante Ashford. Not the cold billionaire or the ruthless businessman. Just a man who loved his nephew and missed his mother and was trying, desperately, to connect with both through food. I was in so much trouble. Penelope! Oliver waved at me. Come taste. Uncle Dante says you're the expert. I joined them, accepting the fork Dante offered. The carbonara was perfect, creamy, rich, with just the right amount of pepper. It's delicious, I said honestly. Your nonna would be proud. Dante's eyes met mine, soft and grateful. You think so? I know so. Oliver grabbed Dante's hand in mine, pulling us together. Now you have to kiss. That's what people do when they make good food together. I saw it in a movie. Oliver, Dante started, but I was already leaning up, pressing a quick kiss to Dante's cheek. He's right. It's tradition. Oliver whooped. I knew you were his girlfriend. Later, after Oliver had eaten 3 helpings and fallen asleep on the couch during a movie, Dante and I cleaned up the kitchen in comfortable silence. Thank you, he said quietly. For today, for making it easy with him. He's a great kid. He is. Dante dried a plate with unusual care. He reminds me of myself at that age, before my mother died, when I still believed in joy and spontaneity and love. He set down the plate. I don't know if I remember how to do that. Love. The real kind, not the obligatory family kind. Dante. No, let me finish. He turned to face me fully. I'm broken, Penelope. I've spent 22 years building walls, shutting people out, reducing everything to logic and numbers because feelings are messy and uncontrollable and terrifying. And then you crashed into my life. Literally. And suddenly nothing makes sense anymore. He stepped closer. You make me want things I convinced myself I didn't need. You make me laugh, you make me feel. And it's terrifying. My heart was hammering. Feeling isn't weakness. In my world it is. Then maybe your world is wrong. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. What if I mess this up? What if I hurt you? What if you don't? I covered his hands with mine. What if we're actually good together? What if all this chemistry and arguing and carbonara making is exactly what we both need? That's not logical. Love isn't logical. I didn't say anything about love. Neither did I. But we both knew we were lying. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When we broke apart, I rested my forehead against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Me too. But you're still here. I'm still here. From the couch, Oliver's sleepy voice called out, Are you guys kissing again because I'm trying to sleep and all this mushy stuff is loud? We broke apart, laughing. Dante called back, Go back to sleep, you menace. Only if you promise to keep her. She makes cookies. I raised an eyebrow at Dante. Well, are you going to keep me? His smile, real and unguarded, was worth every complication, every risk, every terrifying feeling blooming in my chest. For as long as you'll let me. That might be a very long time. Good. He pulled me close again. Because I'm starting to think mathematically perfect timing might actually exist. And ours was that night on the floor, covered in champagne, when you kissed me like the world was ending. Or beginning. Or beginning, he agreed. And somewhere between the dirty dishes and sleeping nephew and cooling carbonara, I realized I was completely, irrevocably falling for Dante Ashford. The scariest part? I was pretty sure he was falling too. The photo was everywhere. Dante and me leaving his building together, his hand on the small of my back, both of us laughing at something I couldn't even remember now. The headline screamed, "Ice King melts. Billionaire Dante Ashford's secret romance with magazine writer." My phone had been ringing non-stop for 3 hours. Berenice, my mother, reporters, even my college roommate I hadn't spoken to in 5 years wanted the inside scoop. But the call I was waiting for from Dante never came. "He's not answering," I told Margot, pacing my tiny apartment. "I've called 12 times. Maybe he's in meetings? For 6 hours? After this bomb dropped?" I gestured at my laptop, where gossip sites were having a field day dissecting our scandalous affair. "Some of these articles are calling me a gold digger, Margot. A social climber who seduced him for money. Anyone who knows you knows that's ridiculous. But he knows. Why isn't he calling?" The answer came at 9 p.m., not as a phone call, but as an email. An email. From Dante Ashford. Subject, contract termination. "Miss Santos, due to recent developments and unwanted media attention, I'm terminating our arrangement effective immediately. The full contracted amount will be paid to you as agreed. My lawyers will contact you regarding a confidentiality agreement. This is for the best. DA." I read it 3 times, then a 4th. Each time the word stayed the same, cold and businesslike and devastating. He just... I couldn't even finish the sentence. Margot grabbed my phone, read the email, and her face went purple with rage. "That coward, that absolute coward. You're going to his penthouse right now. He clearly doesn't want to see me. I don't care what he wants. He doesn't get to kiss you, introduce you to his nephew, make you fall in love with him, and then dump you via email. I'm not in love with him." Margot gave me a look. "Okay, fine, maybe I am, a little, or a lot." I slumped onto my couch. "But it doesn't matter. He made his choice. His reputation, his precious control. It all matters more than me." "Then make him see he's wrong." "You can't make someone love you, Margot." "No, but you can make them face what they're throwing away." I didn't go that night, or the next day. Pride, hurt, and fear kept me frozen. But on the 3rd day, Oliver called. "Penelope? Uncle Dante is being weird." "Weird how, sweetie?" "He locked himself in his office. He won't eat. Mom tried to bring him food and he yelled at her, and Uncle Dante never yells at Mom." Oliver's voice got smaller. "Did you guys break up? Is it my fault? Because I told him he had to keep you." My heart shattered. "Oh, Oliver, no, it's not your fault at all." "Then why won't he talk about you? Why does he look so sad?" "Sometimes grown-ups are stupid. Even really smart ones like your uncle." "Are you going to fix it?" "I don't know if I can." "Penelope, he made nonna's carbonara again yesterday, all by himself. Then he just stared at it and didn't eat any." Oliver paused. "Please come fix him. He's broken without you." I stood outside Dante's building for 20 minutes arguing with myself. The doorman recognized me, but I could see the hesitation in his eyes. He'd probably been told not to let me up. Then my phone buzzed. "Dante, I know you're downstairs." Security alerted me. "Please leave." Me. "No. Dante. Penelope, this is hard enough." Me. "Then come down here and say it to my face. Tell me you don't care. Tell me these past weeks meant nothing. Tell me you're not terrified because for once in your life you can't control how you feel." 3 minutes later he appeared in the lobby. He looked terrible. Hair disheveled, shadows under his eyes, dress shirt wrinkled. I'd never seen Dante Ashford anything less than perfectly put together. "You look like hell," I said. "Thank you for that observation." "Oliver called me. He's worried about you." Dante's jaw tightened. "He shouldn't have done that. He loves you. He sees you're miserable." "I'm protecting you. Don't you understand?" His voice cracked. "Those articles, they're vicious. They're calling you names, questioning your integrity, your career. All because of me. So you decided to prove them right? To throw money at me and cast me aside like I'm just another business transaction? That's not... You sent me an email, Dante. After everything, You couldn't even call me? Because I knew if I heard your voice, I'd... He stopped, running his hands through his hair. I'd lose my nerve. I'd be selfish and keep you in my life even though being with me is destroying yours. Shouldn't that be my choice? You don't understand what you're signing up for. The scrutiny, the gossip, the invasions of privacy. I've lived this my entire life. It's hell, Penelope, and I won't subject you to it. What about what I want? What you want is irrelevant when I'm trying to protect you. From what? Bad press? Mean comments? I stepped closer, poking him in the chest. I'm a food writer who once got death threats for saying pineapple belongs on pizza. I can handle gossip. This is different. The only difference is that you're scared. I poked him again. You're terrified because you're actually happy. Because for the first time since your mother died, you let someone in and now you're panicking. That's not... You're running, Dante. Just like you've been running for 22 years. And you know what? I'm tired of chasing someone who's too afraid to be caught. The words hung between us, heavy and final. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I'm sorry I can't be what you need. You already are what I need, you idiot. That's the problem. Tears burned my eyes. I need someone who makes me laugh. Someone who remembers my favorite flowers. Someone who learns to cook carbonara because it matters to his nephew. Someone who kisses me like I'm his entire world. Penelope. But I also need someone brave enough to fight for us. And right now, I stepped back. You're not that person. I turned to leave, and he didn't stop me. Didn't call my name. Didn't chase after me like every romantic comedy promised he would. I made it to the corner before the tears fell. Behind me, through the glass doors of his building, I could see Dante still standing in the lobby, frozen, watching me walk away. And I kept walking even though every cell in my body screamed at me to turn around. Because Margot was wrong. You can't make someone face what they're throwing away. They have to realize it themselves. I just prayed he'd realize it before it was too late. 2 weeks. It had been 2 weeks since I walked away from Dante Ashford, and I was absolutely, definitely, completely fine. You're crying into cookie dough, Margot observed. These are tears of joy. I love baking. You're stress baking again. That's the 4th batch today. I was stress baking in my apartment on a Saturday, alone, which was fine, perfectly fine. My phone buzzed. Another message from Oliver. Uncle Dante is still sad. He made me hot chocolate yesterday and forgot the chocolate. I laughed through tears. Even miserable, Dante was still terrible at basic cooking. The doorbell rang. If that's another reporter, I'm throwing cookies at them, I warned. Margot opened the door and froze. Penne? You need to see this. I walked to the door and my heart stopped. The hallway was filled with wildflowers, hundreds of them. Purples, blues, yellows, creating a path that led down the stairs. And at the end of that path stood Dante Ashford, holding a single sunflower, looking nervous and hopeful and absolutely terrified. Before you slam the door, he said quickly, I have something to say. Actually, I have a lot to say. I wrote it down because I knew I'd mess it up otherwise. He pulled out note cards. Actual note cards. Oh my God, Margot whispered behind me. Dante cleared his throat. Penelope Victoria Almeida Santos. 2 weeks ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I let you walk away because I was scared. Because I've spent so long protecting myself that I forgot what it felt like to actually live. He flipped to the next card. You asked me once why I read about food. The truth is, after my mother died, recipes were the only thing that made me feel close to her. They were predictable, logical, safe. And then you came into my life like a tornado, and suddenly nothing was safe anymore. You made me feel things I'd locked away for 22 years. His hands were shaking slightly. I thought pushing you away would protect you, but Oliver made me realize he's 8 and smarter than me, that I wasn't protecting you at all. I was protecting myself, from the possibility of loss, from vulnerability, from love. My breath caught. Because I do love you, Penelope. I love how you argue with me. I love how you make me laugh. I love that you poke me in the chest when you're angry, and that you stress bake when you're sad. I love that you see past the billions and the reputation to the broken man underneath and somehow think he's worth fixing. Tears were streaming down my face now. I don't care about the gossip or the photos or what anyone thinks. The only opinion that matters is yours. And I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve another chance. But I'm asking anyway, because you taught me that sometimes the illogical choice is the right one. He dropped the cards, stepping closer. I'm asking you to take a chance on an emotionally constipated billionaire who burns water and communicates through lawsuits. I'm asking you to let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm brave enough to love you the way you deserve. That's not on your cards, I whispered. That part's from the heart. His voice broke slightly. What do you say? Will you give me another chance to not mess this up? I looked at the wildflowers, at the note cards scattered on the floor, at this powerful man who just laid his heart bare in my apartment hallway. You forgot something, I said. His face fell. What? You didn't say you're sorry for that email. I'm sorry. God, Penelope, I'm so sorry. That email was cowardly and cold, and everything I promised I'd never be to you. If I could take it back. I kissed him. Mid-sentence, mid-apology, I grabbed his face and kissed him with everything I had. He made a surprised sound, then pulled me close, kissing me back like I was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When we finally broke apart, both of us crying and laughing, I said, "You're still an idiot. The biggest. And you're buying me dinner for a month. A year. And you're never, ever breaking up with me via email again. Never. Next time I'll do it face-to-face like a proper adult." I smacked his arm. There's not going to be a next time. Right. No next time. He grinned, actually grinned, and it transformed his entire face. So is that a yes? That's a yes, you impossible man. He lifted me off the ground, spinning me around in my apartment hallway while Margot cheered and Oliver, who apparently had been hiding behind Dante, shouted, "I told you she'd say yes." You brought your nephew to your grand gesture, I asked. He threatened to disown me if I didn't. Also, he helped arrange the flowers. Best kid ever, Oliver declared. 1 year later, Penelope's place opened on a crisp October evening, exactly 1 year after the night I kissed Dante Ashford on a champagne-soaked floor. The restaurant was small, only 20 tables, but it was mine. Every detail, from the wildflowers on each table to the open kitchen where guests could watch me cook, was exactly as I'd dreamed. Nervous? Dante appeared behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Terrified. You're going to be brilliant. He kissed my temple. You always are. The dining room was filled with people I loved. Margot and her new girlfriend, Berenice, who'd been surprisingly supportive once she got over the initial shock. Oliver and his parents, and in the place of honor, a framed photo of a woman with Dante's eyes and a warm smile, his mother, in her restaurant, doing what she loved. She'd be proud of you, I said softly, for investing in the restaurant, for learning to cook, for opening your heart. I didn't invest for her. He turned me to face him. I invested for us, for the future we're building together. He reached into his pocket, and my heart stopped. Dante Ashford, if you propose right before my restaurant opening, relax, I'm not proposing. He pulled out a key. This is to my penthouse. I want you to move in, officially. No more splitting time between apartments. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. That's very domestic for someone who once calculated the optimal distance between us. What can I say? You've made me irrational. He kissed me softly. So, will you move in with me? On one condition. Name it. You have to cook dinner once a week. Real cooking. No cheating with takeout. Deal. Though I can't guarantee it'll be edible. I have faith in you. After all, you make excellent carbonara now. Only because I have the best teacher. The restaurant doors opened and the first guests arrived. The evening was a blur of cooking, laughter, compliments, and the pure joy of doing what I loved, surrounded by people I cherished. At the end of the night, after the last guest left, I found Dante in the kitchen washing dishes. "You don't have to do that." "I want to." He smiled. "Besides, someone once told me that the best moments happen in kitchens." I joined him and we worked side by side in comfortable silence, the way we'd done so many times before. "Hey, Dante." "Thank you for believing in me, for the restaurant, for everything." He set down the dish, turning to face me fully. "Penelope, you changed my entire life. Investing in your dream was the easiest decision I've ever made. Even easier than the merger with Tech Corp. Much easier. That was just business." He cupped my face. "This is love." Did Dante Ashford just say the L word without prompting? Don't get used to it. Too late. He kissed me, soft and sweet and perfect, and I thought about that night a year ago. The champagne, the fall, the impulsive kiss that changed everything. Sometimes the best things in life aren't planned. Sometimes they're chaotic and unexpected and completely illogical. Sometimes they're absolutely mathematically perfectly right. 6 months later, Dante proposed in that same kitchen with flour on his face from attempting to bake my grandmother's lemon pie. I said yes, before he even finished asking. Oliver was the ring bearer at our wedding. The menu was Italian, featuring his grandmother's carbonara. And they lived happily, messily, deliciously ever after. The end.